The soldier who became president but lost everything in 5 months will shock you. Behind every great leader stands a partner who shapes their journey. And David Arthur Granger's story begins not with politics or military glory, but with a young woman named Sandra who would change his life forever. Born on July 15, 1945, in Georgetown, Guyana, David grew up in a time when his country was still under British rule, dreaming of a future he could barely imagine. Little did that young boy know that he would one day command armies, lead a nation, and become one of the most educated presidents his country had ever seen. David's early years were spent at Queen's College, one of the most respected schools in all of Guyana. This wasn't just any school. It was the place where future leaders were made, where young minds were shaped, and where David discovered his passion for history. He didn't just attend classes and go home. He dove deep into books, studying the past like it held secrets to the future. His hard work paid off in ways that even he couldn't predict. When he graduated from the University of Guyana, he wasn't just another student with a degree. He walked away with the President's Medal, the highest honor given to the best graduating student in the entire university. But that wasn't all. He also received the Dennis Irvine Prize for making the greatest contribution to the cultural life of the university. These weren't just fancy titles. They were proof that David Granger was someone special, someone destined for greatness. But here's where the story gets interesting. While David was building his academic career, he met Sandra. She was born around 1947 in the border neighborhood of Georgetown, and her background was as rich and diverse as Guyana itself. Her father was of Chinese descent, born in Suriname, and her mother came from the Northwest District with Amerindian ancestry. Sandra wasn't just beautiful, she was brilliant. She earned not one but two Bachelor of Arts degrees from the University of Guyana, studying English literature and Portuguese. Then she went even further, earning a master's degree from the University of Pittsburgh on a Fulbright scholarship. This woman was a powerhouse of intelligence and grace. In 1970, David and Sandra got married, and their partnership would last for more than 54 years. Together they would have two daughters, Han and Afua, and eventually for grandchildren who would fill their lives with joy. Now, while Sandra was conquering academia, David was pursuing a completely different path that would define his early career. He joined the military, and this wasn't just a job for him. It was a calling. He traveled to the United Kingdom to train at the Mons Officer Cadet School in the School of Infantry. He went to Brazil to learn jungle warfare at the Jungle Warfare Instruction Center, mastering skills that would make him one of the most capable soldiers in the region. He studied at the Army Command and Staff College in Nigeria, absorbing military strategy and leadership techniques from some of the best minds in Africa. With each training program, with each new skill, David was climbing the ranks, proving himself to be not just a good soldier, but an exceptional leader. By 1979, something remarkable happened. David Granger became the commander of the Guyana Defence Force, achieving the rank of Brigadier. Think about that for a moment. A young man from Georgetown who loved history books was now leading his country's entire military. But he didn't just sit behind a desk giving orders. He took on massive responsibilities that would make most people's heads spin. He became the chairman of the Central Intelligence Committee, managing sensitive information that affected national security. He was co-chairman of the Border and National Security Committee, protecting Guyana's boundaries. He served on the Guyana Defence Board, the National Drug Law Enforcement Committee, and the Disciplined Forces Commission. These weren't just fancy titles. They were positions of real power, real responsibility, where every decision he made could affect thousands of lives. Then from 1990 to 1992, David took on another crucial role as National Security Advisor to the President. He was now at the very top of the security apparatus, advising the most powerful person in the country on matters of life and death, war and peace. But here's what makes David different from so many military leaders. He never stopped learning. He never stopped thinking. He never stopped asking questions about history and why things happened the way they did. While serving as Brigadier, he went back to school and earned a master's degree in history from the University of Guyana. He also got a postgraduate diploma in international relations from the University of the West Indies. He was awarded the Elsa Gouveia Medal of Excellence and the Mary Noel Menezes Award for History. These weren't just pieces of paper. They showed that David Granger was a warrior scholar, a rare combination of military might and intellectual depth. But David's thirst for knowledge didn't stop there. He became president of the History Society and the Guyana Heritage Society. He led the University of Guyana Guild of Graduates. He joined the Association of Caribbean Historians and the Caribbean Studies Association. He was surrounding himself with the brightest minds, engaging in debates, attending conferences, and constantly expanding his understanding of the world. And then he did something that really sets him apart. He started writing books, not just one or two, but an entire library of works that would preserve Guyana's history for future generations. His first major work was about Guyana's state media and the quest for control, examining how information and power intersect. Then he wrote about women soldiers in the Anglophone Caribbean, shining a light on a topic that few had explored. He published 5,000 Day War, detailing the struggle for Haiti's independence from 1789 to 1804. He documented the British Guyana Volunteer Force from 1948 to 1966, making sure that the service of these men and women would never be forgotten. He wrote about the Guyana National Service from 1974 to 2000, and the Guyana People's Militia from 1976 to 1997. He even wrote about the Queen's College Cadet Corps from 1889 to 1975. Preserving the history of his own school. His book on Guyana's coinage from 1808 to 2008 showed his attention to even the smallest details of national identity. He wrote the era of enslavement from 1638 to 1838 and the village movement from 1839 to 1889. He co-edited themes in African Guyanese history. This man was single-handedly creating a historical record of his nation, page by page, book by book. But writing books wasn't enough for David Granger. In 1992, he founded the Guyana Review News magazine and became its managing editor. He was now not just a soldier and historian, but also a journalist, someone who understood the power of the press and the importance of information. From 1995 to 1996, he became a Hubert H. Humphrey Fulbright Fellow at the Philip Merrill College of Journalism at the University of Maryland in the United States. He was learning from the best journalists in the world, understanding how media shapes public opinion, how stories are told, and how truth can be both revealed and hidden by the press. He returned to Guyana and became the publisher of both Guyana Review and Emancipation magazines, using these platforms to shape public discourse and keep people informed about the issues that mattered most. Now, here's where David's life takes its most dramatic turn. After decades in the military, after years of writing and publishing, after building a reputation as one of the most educated and respected men in Guyana, David Granger decided to enter politics. In November 2011, he became the presidential candidate for the People's National Congress Reform Party. He lost that election, but defeat didn't stop him. In January 2012, he was elected leader of the opposition in the National Assembly, and for 3 years, he fought, debated, argued, and prepared for another chance at the presidency. He also became president of the Guyana Chess Federation, showing that even in politics, he understood the importance of strategy, patience, and thinking several moves ahead. On May 16, 2015, everything changed. David Arthur Granger was elected as the 9th president of Guyana. This wasn't just any victory. It ended 23 years of rule by the People's Progressive Party. It was a political earthquake that shook the entire nation. David led a coalition of 6 parties called APNU plus AFC, the largest political alliance in Guyana's entire history. Think about the skill, the diplomacy, the negotiation required to bring 6 different political parties together under one banner. That's not just politics. That's masterful leadership. When David took office, he had a clear vision for his country. He wanted to restore public security so people could feel safe in their homes and streets. He wanted to fight poverty and inequality that had plagued Guyana for generations. He wanted to restore local democracy, giving power back to communities and individuals. He wanted to promote social cohesion and national identity, bringing together a diverse nation under one flag. And he wanted education reform, believing that the future of Guyana lay in educating its young people. During his presidency, David made a bold move that would define his legacy. Guyana had a long-standing territorial dispute with Venezuela over a massive region called Essequibo. Instead of letting this conflict simmer and potentially explode into violence, David brought the case to the International Court of Justice. He was telling the world that Guyana would fight for its sovereignty not with guns but with law, not with violence but with justice. This was the historian, the soldier, and the statesman all working together in one decision. Throughout his presidency, Sandra stood by his side as First Lady, but she wasn't just there for ceremonies and photo opportunities. She focused on women's rights, fighting to prevent sexual violence, and working for the welfare of children and the elderly. She used her education, her intelligence, and her platform to make real changes in people's lives. Together, David and Sandra represented a partnership of purpose, two brilliant minds working to improve their nation. Their two daughters, Han and Afua, and their four grandchildren gave them personal joy even as they carried the weight of national responsibility. But then comes the part of the story that shows how fragile political power can be, how quickly everything can change, how victory can turn to defeat in the blink of an eye. On December 21, 2018, David's government lost a vote of no confidence in parliamentary systems. This is devastating. It's a declaration that the majority of elected representatives no longer support your leadership. Elections were called for March 2020, and David faced off against Irfan Ali from the People's Progressive Party. The results were controversial, and it took 5 long months before the final outcome was declared. David had lost. After just 5 years as president, after decades of preparation, after a lifetime of service to his country, David Granger demitted office in August 2020. Imagine that moment. You're 75 years old. You've spent your entire life serving your country as a soldier, protecting it as a brigadier, documenting its history as a writer, informing its citizens as a journalist, and leading it as president. And then it's over. Just like that. The people have spoken, and they've chosen someone else. But here's what tells you everything you need to know about David Granger's character. He didn't refuse to leave. He didn't claim the election was stolen. He didn't cause violence or chaos. He stepped down with dignity, respecting the democratic process that he had fought to uphold his entire life. Today, at 79 years old, David Granger hasn't disappeared from public life. He has a social media program called The Public Interest, where he continues to share his thoughts and insights on the issues facing Guyana. He still speaks out about the territorial dispute with Venezuela, reminding people of the dangers and the importance of protecting national sovereignty. He's still married to Sandra after 54 years, still a father to Han and Afua, still a grandfather to 4 grandchildren who probably call him by some affectionate name rather than Mr. President. He's still known for his impeccable posture and solemn demeanor. Still a private person who values family life above the spotlight. He's still a collector of coins and historical memorabilia. Still the boy from Queen's College who fell in love with history and never let that love die. David Granger's story teaches us something powerful about life, about success, about legacy. Success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about how you climb, who you help along the way, what you learn during the journey, and how you handle both victory and defeat. David was a soldier who believed in service over glory. He was a scholar who believed knowledge was power, but that power should be used to educate others, not just elevate yourself. He was a journalist who believed in truth and transparency. He was a president who believed in democracy even when democracy rejected him. He was a husband and father who kept his family together through decades of public life. And he's an elder statesman who continues to contribute to his nation long after leaving office. When you look at his list of accomplishments, the medals and awards, the books and articles, the military rank and political office, the degrees and honors, it's easy to get lost in the credentials, but the real story of David Granger is about consistency. It's about a man who decided early in life what he believed in, and then spent every single day living according to those beliefs. It's about a partnership with Sandra that lasted through military life, political campaigns, presidential victory, and electoral defeat. It's about being president of the Chess Federation because even when you're running a country, you understand that strategy, patience, and careful thinking matter. It's about writing books that nobody forced you to write because you believe history matters and someone needs to preserve it for future generations. The soldier who became president but lost everything in 5 months didn't actually lose everything. He still has his wife, his children, his grandchildren. He still has his books, his reputation, his legacy. He still has his dignity and his voice. He still has the respect of those who watched him lead with integrity even in defeat. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Power is temporary. Positions come and go. Elections are won and lost. But character, integrity, knowledge, and family are the things that last. David Arthur Granger built a life on these foundations, and no election result can take that away. CTA, subscribe now because leaders like this don't come around often, and you need to know their stories.